Hello, welcome back to our live coverage of the United Nations Climate Talks here in Cancun in Mexico. We've got a busy schedule lined up for you, and my next guest, I'm delighted to say, is Luana Bosanquet-Heays of Project Survival Pacific. So we should begin by introducing the Project Survival Pacific to our viewers. I think, what is it you do, and what's brought you here to the Climate Talks?
Well, I'm from the Cook Islands, which is a group of 15 islands in the South Pacific, and Project Survival is an Australian organisation that essentially brings together people of the Pacific and Australia and some in New Zealand as well to work on adaptation strategies and to create awareness about climate change throughout the Pacific.
So what kind of activities does that involve on a day-to-day basis? Adaptation is it's essentially about surviving, isn't it? It's like kind of adapting to the worst impacts of climate change. So what are you doing on that front?
Well, I mean, as you say, yeah, it's about survival, particularly in the Pacific. We have a lot of low-lying atolls, so our main focus at the moment is probably water, so making sure that there's clean drinking water, helping people to understand how to adapt in their own communities, and so they can go out and share that information with others.
And we've heard from people from Fiji telling us about the fact that they're having to try and learn how to drink salt water and mix it with coconut milk, or trying to work out how to adapt to some of these changes already. Is it the case that you're really seeing the impacts of climate change on a day-to-day basis in the Cook Islands now?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't have that, the water salinisation at the moment, but it's, I can see that it's going to become a problem in the coming years. We've got more of an issue with coastal erosion at this stage, which is an issue because most of our communities live on the coast. We've also got coral bleaching, which is affecting all our fish stocks, which we pretty much live off. So that's sort of the main issues for us in the Cook Islands.
And if you're living off fish stocks, if presumably this is people's livelihoods that are being affected, how are people responding?
Well, it's quite a hard task to try and spread the message of climate change throughout the Pacific, because there's a lot of confusion as to how these events are all linked. We've also got a lot of cyclones becoming more frequent and harsher. This year, in fact, we've got, in about 3 months of our cyclone season, we've got 11 cyclone warnings, I believe, and that's just the initial calculation. So it's pretty scary times.
And what about the awareness? Because you say that it's difficult for people to connect the dots together and realise that it's climate change. Is there a lot of awareness of this issue in the Pacific and in the Cook Islands?
Well, throughout the Pacific, I mean, it's becoming more of a common thing. I think the way to engage people is really through youth, and a lot of the Pacific is quite religious. So we've been trying to engage with churches as well to try and get them to spread the word, so to speak, and also through cultural practices. So doing it through a lot of cultural dance, artwork, song, etc. Yeah.
And what would be an example of some of the cultural practices? Like how would you use dance to convey it, or song to convey it?
Well, we use sort of traditional dance practices and songs that you would dance to back home, particularly in the Cook Islands I'm talking about. And the messages that they carry through about environmental awareness and spirituality and connection with the land, which is quite a common theme throughout the Pacific. We have really, really strong ties with our land, so we're sort of linking in the common messages that we all know into climate change.
And what's the education component? You've said that you're using kind of these innovative means to communicate. Are you also in schools, or are you in colleges? How is Project Survival kind of working on that front?
Well, we're quite a new organisation. We've only actually been around for just over a year. We attended COP last year, so the Australian crew fundraised to get 12 of us Pacific Islanders here last year. So through that, we were able to engage with other youth and come up with sort of more innovative ways to go home and work in our own communities. So through that, just really engaging with people on a one-to-one level, I think, is the way to go about it in the Pacific.
And how have you found these talks? How have you found coming to Cancun for the UN process? Do you see the connection with kind of the impacts of climate change you're feeling at home, or does it all feel very kind of separate? Like, what's your feeling in this kind of grey warehouse?
It's a bit of a zoo, actually. Our main sort of aim of being here is really to raise the voice of the Pacific, because you'd be surprised at how little people know, that we're feeling the effects now, and really, really strongly. And really pushing the idea that it is about our very survival. We've got people in small islands that have had to already move away from their island homes because they simply can't live there anymore, they're uninhabitable. So I think that it is quite a separate, it's really difficult to try and get people to engage, you know, from halfway across the world saying, hey, this is what we're experiencing. So we've done that through a lot of just speaking with people, sharing our stories like we're doing now. Again, we've put on some cultural shows to, you know, really celebrate Pacific culture, so we can say, hey man, look how cool this is, and this is what we're trying to protect.
And what kind of cultural shows have you put on?
We had on International Youth and Future Generations Day that was here last Thursday. We held a marketplace, all of Youngo did, held a marketplace here, and I actually did a traditional Cook Island dance, which is, again, you know, with the underlying kind of tones of environmental awareness and stuff. Just
wish we had that on camera.
Well, we're actually doing another one on tomorrow.
Okay,
so if you can come along.
We'll try and get somebody along to it. And so, just to wrap up then, what do you hope to achieve by the end of this week? What, if you kind of come away from Cancun, what will it be kind of that you feel that you've, you know, got done?
I think, you know, it's really important to be networking, particularly with other youth, but also other NGOs and with our own delegates, and really, you know, pushing that message of survival. And I think that we've done it really effectively this year. We've, you know, just this morning I was meeting with the New Zealand government, just to, you know, ask them questions on how, you know, they see that they can address the problem, and I think that we're doing really well, actually.
It's a nice positive note to finish on.
Yeah. Despite the kind of epic message of failure that sort of seems to be surrounding these talks, we really tried to put a positive spin on it, because last year was all about, you know, this is our last chance, this is our survival, and nothing happened. So I think people are a bit fatigued of that whole message, so we're trying to put a positive spin on it. Yeah,
and I think it's something we've heard a lot, actually, even from the policy people. They're saying the expectations are lower, but actually you know, there have been achievements, and it's great to have some youth here and activists here to kind of raise the tone as well. Well, just left to say, Luana, thanks very much for joining us. It's good to talk to you, and we're going to take our viewers to a report that we filmed the last couple of days. It's called Around the World in 80 Eco Days, and you'll get to see some innovative new technologies being used.